Namaskar. In today's satsang, we are going to talk about a concept called Samarpan. Now, the word Samarpan comes from Indian languages, Sanskrit to be precise, but it's used in many Indian languages. But it's a word which really means surrender. Now, the word surrender immediately brings could bring kind of negative feelings within us because the concept of surrendering is connected with um, something negative in some ways. That is, it kind of denotes giving up yourself, surrendering, giving up your free will. Now, the point is that despite this seemingly negative connotation connected with the word surrender, we at Karmyog for 21st Century and through the Fit for Life program really want each of the practitioners, each of us, to re-understand and re-evaluate the meaning of the word surrender and discover a new meaning within the word surrender. Because we are claiming that without surrendering, we really cannot move forward and learn much from this program, or for that matter, any program. Now, why do I say this? Let's examine the concept of surrendering a little more. Now, in order to examine the concept of surrendering, we really need to take ourselves back a little bit, go back in time to those times when we were really young, very young. Very young means maybe just a few months after we were born. Go back to those times. What was your condition? Well, you will remember two things at least. You were not able to do much. And the two things that we're going to talk about your childhood are not essentially what you might be thinking. I'm going to talk about two specific things that you learned right away during the first few months, of your being born. And these two things, although many of you might be thinking that I am talking about eating and breathing, well, we give a lot of importance to those two things. But that's not what I'm talking about today. In fact, we really say that we have not really learned eating and breathing. No one has taught us, and nor have we learned. We have mislearned something, and we continue to use that mislearned method of eating and breathing throughout our lives, most of us, unless we are fortunate enough to get the sannidhya, as we say, or proximity of a sadguru, of a really good teacher. But other than that, most of us don't learn that. But that's not my topic today. That's not what I'm addressing today. I'm addressing two other things that we learned right away in our childhood. These are two things that we were not able to do for quite a few weeks and months after we were born. And that's the time that we were struggling. And we were struggling and almost like animals. We weren't even behaving like humans. Why? Because we were not being able to do these two things. What are these two things? Well, the first one is keeping our balance. See, holding our balance on our 2 feet, which really translates to walking or running. So the locomotion, the way we humans walk, balancing ourselves on our 2 feet, that is something that took some time to learn. It didn't just come on day one. And we had to struggle quite a bit in order to learn this. The only thing to remember is no one came and took a class. We didn't have to go to school or college or even play school. We didn't have to get a tutor or a PowerPoint presentation, a blackboard, an online course, nothing. We just learned it. And it was tough. It's not easy. I am told that the entire phenomena of balancing ourselves on the 2 feet really takes a lot of skill. There's a lot of physiochemical stuff going on, in the brain, the thalamus, and I don't know what. I'm not trying to even pretend to be an expert in that area, but I know that it takes a lot. The doctors and the medical practitioners have medical field has today unearthed what it takes just to keep balance. The fluid that is there within which stuff is floating, it connected with our eardrums and all that. Now, that whole idea or the skill of balancing ourselves on these 2 feet and being able to walk, it was no mean feat. I mean, now that we can do it, it seems simple, like anything else. Once you have become an expert in it, once you have done the sadhana and practiced it, and you can do it without any effort, effortlessly, it seems easy. But ask someone who cannot do it. And the same thing goes with the other aspect of learning your mother tongue. That's the second thing. Language. Learning your mother tongue. We all learn our mother tongue without going to school or college or, taking classes or online courses or whatever you can think of. None of the general teaching learning methodologies that we are used to. And yet we learn these two very important things. Learning a language is a very important cognitive skill, connected with a motor skill also, because with the cognition, you are then controlling your very fine vocal cords, the muscles out here, and sending air through these cords in a manner so that you can really control them and throw out specific types of sounds, which is what is creating your vocal language, your mother tongue. I'm not talking about writing, that takes some other practice and teachers and tutors, but just speaking your mother tongue is something that we just learn. Now, how do we learn these two things? That's the question you must ask yourself. How did we learn these two very important and two very difficult things so easily? Well, the answer is surrender. That was a time when you were completely surrendered. You didn't have stuff within you to really resist and put your own self in between what was going on, where you were learning from and who was learning. The subject and the objects of learning didn't have the barrier in between. There was total surrender. There was no fear of failure. There was no fear of rejection. You tried to walk, you fell down, you laughed a bit and you stood up and you again started walking. If you really got hurt, you might have cried once or twice, but that doesn't count. If you couldn't speak, you were saying, "Mama, baba." You couldn't even call out the greetings or the names of your parents or your brothers, sisters. It didn't matter. You tried and you failed and you tried again. And then you succeeded a little bit and you became better. Now, this is the anatomy of surrendering. When you do not thwart away rejection, when you do not thwart away failure, when you are not worried about giving up whatever you have thought you are momentarily. That giving up of yourself is surrendering, and it's vital to learning process. Now, I say this very consciously. See, as students, our religion is surrendering, because students are made to surrender. As long as one is a student, in the student life, as they said, that time, it is almost religiously you are made to surrender to your teachers, to the school system, to the discipline of the schooling system or the educational institutes and all that. So it's made up of surrender, and that's why people learn such a lot. But as we grow up, as we start growing, even during our student life, the phase of our life when we are students, we already have started not surrendering. We already have started forming this wall around ourselves, or shield around ourselves, or this whole apparatus that prevents us from surrendering. And then we slowly start thwarting this whole issue of surrendering. Even as students, the part that we dislike most is this issue of surrendering. The part that we like in our college life, is from school life to college life, or junior school to high school. As we get a little more freedom, little less need to surrender, we feel, I'm now coming of age, all that. So that starts happening. This inability to surrender seeps into us. And then as we keep growing, that inability, that concreteness sets in. and it becomes more and more difficult to surrender. But at this juncture, I would like to draw your attention to something very important. I am claiming that in any case, no matter where, how much you have grown, who you are, you may be the prime minister or the president of a country or a big businessman who is running an industry, who has thousands of employees, or you may be a big leader, a big thought leader who has many devotees and followers, and yet I am saying you are completely surrendered every moment of your life. Not surrendered to the will of God, etc. No, I'm not talking philosophy or religion. I'm just talking plain simple logic. Imagine each one of us at any moment is surrendered to one person, and that person is called me, myself. Each of us are surrendered to our own selves, no matter whether we like it or not, whether we agree or not, whether we are conscious about it or not. At any point of time, I am surrendered to this particular guy called Saurabh. And you are surrendered to whoever you call yourself. Because when you say free will, liberated, freedom, you are actually saying that you are dependent on this one guy, on your own self. Now, what's this Saurabh done? What's great has this guy done that I am so biased about being surrendered to this guy? That it doesn't matter to me if I'm surrendered. As long as I'm surrendered to this guy, I'm fine. But if I have to surrender to a Sadguru, or to a great thought leader, or to a child who's teaching me something wonderful, or to an animal from whom I am learning something, what is the problem in surrendering to that agent? What is great about this agent? Now, so this agency we forget, and we kind of think that it is autonomy. I am autonomous. This is an autonomic being, an autonomous kind of a thing. This whole bias for this autonomy for this guy drives us, and we are not even conscious or cognizant of the fact that we are constantly surrendered. So all that we need to do is just remove this bias and be very logical about who we want to surrender at which point of time, moment to moment to moment. And that is possible only if we do our sadhana well, which means we develop our self well. In Indian languages, the term for freedom is swadhin, whereas the term for lack of freedom or dependence is adhin. So the part swa is a prefix which means self. So freedom or free, swadhin, means you are dependent on your own self. Adhin is no freedom, complete dependence, and swa is yourself. So swadhin, dependent on yourself. So freedom means giving up to your own self. You're always giving up your freedom to this guy. So when you are already giving up your freedom to this guy, what's so great about this guy? Just be clear about making a conscious decision about who you give up your freedom to. It may be that guy, not this guy, if you are consciously deciding that. So most of the time we are unconscious of the fact that we are already giving up our freedom in favor of this guy. So conscious giving up is another form of surrender, and that's what is the goal of the Fit for Life program. Through this program, we want to create so much strength and so much confidence in this, what you call yourself, the Saurabh of this world, that is me. And if your name is Madhavi, then to the Madhavis of this world, and whatever your name is, you have to build so much strength within yourself that it is very easy for you to give up being surrendered to that and surrender to someone else, because you know that you guy is always there to take care. So there's no problem. You have full confidence, full devotion. You know that. So you can keep it away for some time and translate that sense of surrendering, which you are doing all the time anyways, to some other agent as and when required, very effortlessly. And that's one of the main goals of our Fit for Life program, to help you to become effortless surrendering agents so that you can surrender effortlessly. That's all for today, folks. Take it easy. Take care. Namaskar.